On this episode, we explore how learning disabilities can transform into superpowers. My guest is Tim, and he refused to let ADD, ADHD, and dyslexia hold him back. Recognizing that learning was the ultimate achievement, Tim created his own learning program. He grasped early on that learning extends way beyond reading, engaging in travel, and studying great leaders through documentaries. Through this, Tim curated his own mental and physical health, establishing the foundation for his executive coaching. We also tell fitness model stories and conclude that those clothes were not designed with us in mind. Let's jump in. Everybody, say hi to Tim. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Scottie. How are you?
Good, man. So before we get into everything, tell people what you do and where they can find you.
Well, my name is Tim Valderrama. Let's see. I own Austin Executive Fitness. I do executive coaching from executives to Olympian athletes, and so I do a little bit all around. So, yeah, I live here in Austin for going on 23 years now. So, yeah, pretty simple. Salt, Texas guy that's now in the big city.
Yeah, the big city of Austin, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you have been training for how many years?
Going on close to 28.
Okay, and then at what point did you kind of flip from just like training to like executive coaching?
2007.
So, and was executive coaching like a natural progression? Like, did you, it almost happened like, kind of without you even kind of knowing it, that you were like, oh, like, I'm not just training anymore. I'm doing a whole different thing.
No, that's exactly it. Working for a corporate world, I noticed that all my clients were executives. They're the only ones that could afford me, but the only ones that stuck around. And the reason they stuck around was because they wanted to better health. And so if they're better health, they're at work giving not only better performance, but they're at the top of the game. So that's where I keyed into my niche was just, I've just noticed I'm training all executives. So it wasn't just, I hate to say it, normal people that just want to learn how to train. I was training people that actually just wanted to stay at a high level. And so that's, I went from that point on and that's all I did.
Well, but I would think that like you are who you attract.
Correct.
Right. If you are your authentic self or you're going to attract these clients, and it would make sense that they maybe had some things in common or the same type of people because of who you are. Right. But that's when you're going to give your best service.
Correct.
Right.
And so writing for magazines, writing for different magazines, anytime I did they'd sponsor me or I'd go and talk about the magazine, having my articles, people would come up to me and they would say, not only you looked the part, but I wanted to see who you were. And so when you not only look the part and you write something that people can learn from, you start to have a following. And so that following really helps not only your brand, but who you attract.
Okay. If you want to play this game, we can, but we don't have to. But I want to at least play. I want to play it with you first, and then you could decide if you want to do it. Right? So we cross paths training in the same place.
Correct.
And my qualification for a good trainer is, would I let you train my mother? Okay, that's my bar, right? And I can honestly say, the first time I saw you train, obviously, we're the same age. You're close to my age. You can tell you've been doing it a really long. These are things I just naturally know as a trainer. You've been doing it a really long time. Great rapport with your clients. Great engagement with your clients. You know what I mean? And I was just like, man, this, like, I will let this guy train my mom. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my mom might not be his clientele, but I would trust him because I know she wouldn't get hurt, and right?
Oh yeah, I would have fun with her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody laughs at that. I'm like, I'll train your mom. They're like, really, Tim? Like, hey, she's teaching me how to cook. I'll teach her how to lift and
Yeah.
see what's going on with what she might be dealing with.
Okay, so my question really is do you remember your first impression of me? Because I might be a little bit harder swallow than a lot of people. You know what I mean?
So when I first saw you, Scottie, I was like,
This guy's ridiculous.
I said, well, in my head, I was like, who's this top cat over here wearing this nice and slick? Noticed your style. I'm like, okay. I said, the intellectual kind. I'm like, okay. So that's, when I saw you, that's the first first look. I'm like, okay. You can tell he's a walking billboard of, knows a lot, very conservative, engaged with his clients, and very one-on-one, which
Very much the way I would describe you, kind of in a weird way, right?
oh yeah.
So like, it's not so much the perception of who I am. It's like you being a trainer so long, you pick up on those things too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You can tell the vibe or the groove they're in. If they're, I'd say you can see some trainers sitting on the floor playing with their phone or just sitting down, just looking lazy. I call it. It's like, people are paying you $1 a minute. You need to be at your best perspective, and so like seeing you, I could tell that mannerisms you have, you're very attentive, you're constantly engaged with them, looking at your, looks like your iPad. So either you're showing charts or showing graphs or showing something that or topic that, you're not laughing about it. You're very intuitive with that person. And so I picked that up.
Well, really what, if we're giving training advice and longevity of being a trainer, like engagement with your client is key.
Oh, absolutely.
Because why else would they show up if you're not going to be engaged with them? So the time you spend on their phone, the time you spend in the bathroom, the time you spend being late, the time you spend doing anything other than taking care of that client and the money they're paying you for is a detriment to what they're buying. And maybe they won't want to buy again.
Correct.
They won't want to do it very long. They're not going to get results because they're not engaged. There's no buy-in. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But you create that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's mentoring other trainers before. I said, people that come and see you, and this is from back in the day, I'm like, they're paying $1 a minute. Might be paying $1 half a minute. Like, I don't get it. Well, do that times 60 minutes. That's how much your time is and how much you're worth. So you better have something for them to learn from. Not only that, you want to give them, I always tell clients, you want to come out 1% better than when you first saw Tim. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, if you see me 3 times a week, that's 3%. You do that times 12 times in a month, that's 12%. You do that times 3 months, 36%. I said, number adds up pretty quick. 6 months. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so it's not about, everybody likes 100% grade. I like the 1%, and people don't get it. I'm like, if I learn one thing a day, for me, it's like, if I can come out learning something from Tim in this hour, one thing, that's 1%. And so that gives that client not only initiative to tell their other people, and that's how you build your brand, is they start talking about you because you give them that 1%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's pretty different way to look at it, because I'm always 100%. I didn't like that. I always did 150%, but now the 1%, man, that 1% sticks.
Well, it curates consistency.
Because now, like you're talking about earlier,
You only get 100% with consistency, and it's only by roughly gaining 1% a day.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what you're asking about, the boundaries and setting the expectation. That's what clients want from you, is that they want that 1%, but it's going to build over time. And it's going to be something that they look back and like, man, you really changed my life.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I did. Because my thing is, I always tell clients, I'm like, I might not be with you next month. They're like, they'll freak out, because you always want to let them know that me and you, we're disposable. So you might get a calling to go to Hollywood, and Tim might get a calling to go to New York. And I always tell clients, this is a month by month, and it scares them. So they really put the initiative to come and see Scottie, because they know that their time with you might be limited. So when you bring that every single time you see them, they want more.
Yeah.
They want more.
Man, like if I'd have known that, like, you were such an old pro about being on camera, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So what all things do you do? Like what all do you do?
Oh, I always tell myself what I cannot do. So for me, it's, I take that, Scottie, in a sense where I think everybody has limitations of what they can do. I keep my mind and my mindset of what can I not do. So I always think, what can I do to challenge myself in order to complete a task, like you just said. So I do a little bit of everything, jack of all entrepreneurships in a sense.
But okay, have you done like acting?
No acting, modeling for different agencies back in the day.
Like fitness modeling?
Fitness modeling, some of the big brands out there used to do catwalk.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Did you like that?
No.
Yeah. Were you kind of a bigger guy?
Oh, yeah.
And the clothes were kind of smaller for smaller people?
Smaller clothes. And the funny thing about it's like, Tim, you need to lose more weight. I'm like, how much more can I get?
Yeah.
And that's
to try to fit into your little small clothes.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
I've always been a big size guy, no matter if I wanted to or not. So I got I guess you'd say too big for the industry just because of my
Size wise, right?
size wise.
Yeah.
Not even trying. So it limited myself.
Yeah. Have you done like fitness magazines and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of magazines here in Austin. Did some national magazines as well. So tapped into a little bit of from local to national.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. Once again, it's learning different poses and depends on the settings. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Have you? Are you a traveler?
Oh, all the time before COVID, big time.
Okay, so did doing some of that stuff did that afford traveling? Like, did you go places to do things like that?
Oh, a lot in Vegas, a lot in California, some New York.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, got to see a little bit of everything, culture diversity. So you get to see a lot of different people, how they live, and I guess that's the positive I took out of it, which I really liked, is getting to see different cities. What's there? The excitement.
You from Texas, right?
South Texas.
Right. So where did you go first? Did you go to Vegas, LA, or New York first?
New York.
How was that? Was that a big shock? Wait, were you culture shocked?
Oh yeah, big time.
It's crazy, right?
Oh man, it's like, of course, it's what you see on TV. It's different.
Yeah. Like, so how many people were in your hometown?
Oh, 3,946.
Okay, so mine's about like 6,000, about 6,000, right?
Oh yeah, small town.
When you go to New York, and then like at any time you look out the window, there's still shit going on. At any time outside,
Love
you're
it.
like, wow, like when like you think city never sleeps, kind of like Vegas or LA, but like New York is really like it's city never sleeps. Like people like just living their regular everyday lives and shit, not like partying, you know.
That's what's fascinating about New York is first time there, I stayed across from the Central Station. And so with my, not jump to subjects, ADD and ADHD, my mind never stops thinking. So I was like, just like what you just said, it's amazing. It's like, I'm going to bed, but somebody's still up. Or I'm about to go to bed, but nobody is basically went to bed either. So New York was exciting in that way. There's something constantly going. So it makes you really think is, when does the world stop? And do I want to go to sleep, or am I going to find something that's new, adventurous, or am I going to see something that outside, what's going on in New York that I might miss? So New York, it's busy city, and it makes your mind really busy in the sense, so much going, but it's awesome.
Yeah, okay. Did you live in New York at all?
No,
Just visited.
just visit.
Where did you go next? You go LA or Vegas next?
I actually went to Miami.
Okay. Did you live in Miami?
No, just work.
Okay, so where'd you go next? Vegas or LA?
Next was Vegas.
Did you live in Vegas at all?
No,
Did you live in LA at all?
no.
Like, because it's fun to go visit those places, but at least for me, like growing up in a small town in like South Texas, they're just fun to visit. I don't want to live there because of just what you said. Like they're just busy. There's a buzz and an energy, which is like great. But can you imagine just being in that, like, for lack of a better word, like radio frequency all the time? You know what I mean? Of things always going on.
Yes, you're very. It's very conducive. Your body, you just can't stop thinking. So
And you already can't stop thinking.
correct, and it's an overkill. So I'm like, my mind literally starts thinking, I don't need to go to bed. I need to stay up. I need to do something. And for me, it's build a business, build something, write a book. It's the mind never stops. And that's the positive thing about like New York or Vegas, there's always something interesting going on, which I find fascinating. But like you said, yeah, you're ready to go home after a while because the mind needs rest and the body.
I was also thinking, like, do we just kind of, like, when you grow up in a smaller area, do we just kind of get lulled to sleep that we think that there's not always something, you know, that when you go to bed at night, the world shuts down? Because it doesn't really. Those places are obvious, but are we lulled to sleep to think that our little small area shut down when it really kind of doesn't either? Does that make sense?
No, it's true, because growing up in a small town, it's
a different type of stuff going on at those times.
correct.
Maybe not as much, but like there are but we can get lulled to sleep to think that our little town is safe and that none of that is going on.
Right. And probably don't know how your parents were growing up, but you better be home before the lights turn off, or you're going to get a whooping. So it's like, your place was, you better get home before the city lights come on, or the block lights. And
Right.
so you're at home, you're showered, and you're having dinner with everybody, and then you go to bed. That's it.
Yeah.
No TV.
Yeah.
Back then it's one of those things where our TV is probably it was a black and white 6-inch by probably 10 inches, but that was it. But it was so small you'd have to sit really close to it just to make out what's going on. So when it come what was next, or your mind thinking, I'm going off subject here, but that's what's different about a small town, is that your mind never stays engaged. So when you go home, it's the same old routine. So what you see on TV, you're like, wow. But yet then your mind shuts off because you're not, like you're saying, you're not around it. So your body stays stimulated.
Right.
So it's easier to go to sleep. You don't have all that commotion, but yet so does your dreams.
Sure. The first TV that I remember was in like one of these cabinets like this, and it was like the TV was in there, and then it had the speakers like on each side, and then the turn dial like right here. That's the first one. And then I remember, if I'm correct, my parents kept it. The TV broke, but they just set the new TV on top of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like that was the thing to do when that TV broke. You didn't want to throw away the whole cabinet. You know what I mean?
So, oh, yeah. That was especially, it was like you're moving on up and coming in here today, you're looking at I call it entertainment center. It's an old school stereo that you transitioned into a audio box for your microphones, which is amazing. But as you said, when you moved up, you just put a TV on top of a TV.
Yeah.
And so it was like putting a VCR on top of the TV / under the TV. Is like, oh man, you got a VCR too?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's just like the Jeffersons moving on up, and you're like, wow, okay.
I remember, so when we came in here, you made a comment about this. Did someone in your family have one of these?
My grandmother did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Would she play music on stuff when you were over there?
Oh, all the time. She was Spanish, so all you would hear is like
Julio Iglesias?
Oh, might as well be Julio Iglesias.
Did she play a lot of Spanish music?
No, it's funny. It was Julio Iglesias. Because the more I think about it, it's like he was the Latin lover, so all the women back then loved him because of his voice was his favorite song with Willie Nelson, To All the Girls I Loved Before. So that was a big hit back in the day. So yeah, it's funny you said that. He was big back then.
Well, I think it was hard for singers that weren't white back then to like really get in front of people. You know what I mean? Or at least it feels that way,
Oh yeah, because one, you got to know somebody, and two, you got to have a unique voice. But also,
and you have to transcend race and that whole thing. You know what I mean? It makes it much tougher.
And I think we're at a different, time even back then, is where you really didn't want to go above another person's level of race, ethnicity. So you have to really work the ladder going up to the next level in order to get that shot.
Yeah.
If not, you didn't get that shot. So like you said, that was hard to come by back then, just because who you were, you didn't get to go to the top.
There's an album cover over here with Charlie Pride on it.
Oh yeah.
And every time I think of Charlie Pride, I'm just like, his life. I don't. If he's not passed away, I don't want to kill Charlie Pride right now. But like, his life must have sucked. Like trying to make it when he did, doing what he did. It must have been so tough, and like that sucks, because he's a really great singer, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he was. So when I look at him, I think about Chubby Chucker, and My favorite is
All of them, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's just how good they were playing the guitar, the trumpet. I mean, it's like Prince. He was so diversified on playing instruments. Like what can you not do?
But you know what? You know what I liked about Prince is like he when he came into a room, he's like, I'm fucking Prince. And you didn't doubt or argue that he was Prince. Like he was Prince when he walked in. And so that either, is it he was faking it to make it, or the confidence that he had as a person and who he was just off the charts. Where like, you ever heard that thing where they say like, you ever met Bill Clinton? You ever met like a famous person that had like energy and you're like, what is even going on when you're around them? I feel like Prince was probably like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to go off subject on this because to me, Prince. Somebody brought this up the other day. He was the only one as a male that could wear high heels and perm his hair.
And nobody wasn't gonna say shit.
Yeah, nobody would care. And you're like, never thought about that. But dressed like a woman, I'm like, no, that was who he was as a person. But he permed his hair. He wore stilettos. But that was just his aura.
He was also short. He was also really short.
Yep.
But I mean, he still had to pull off those shoes.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's what killed him was all his back.
You think it's from them shoes?
Oh, it was.
Really?
I'm big on documentaries and reading about how that person was successful. That was him.
Oh, well,
all those pain pills.
Did you? Okay, you said you're a documentaries person.
Oh, big time.
Okay, so like reading books or watching documentaries or what? What are we talking?
Both.
Okay, so give me like 3 documentaries or 3 people I should check out. Like now I want to check out this Prince stuff because I didn't know he hurt his back like wearing high heels. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Boy, that's hard to come by 3.
What are some of the things that you've like watched that you like?
Recently, I'm back onto Greek mythology, so I'm big on Alexander the Great, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, but then also who else from that generation led up? Winston Churchill was one of my other favorites. How he led the British through Hitler's day and age, and so it's I always go back to leaders because you want to know what they're thinking, what they're thinking, why they're thinking, and what made them do a certain way. So right now, I'm stuck on, who's the big one I'm really stuck on? I get off track because times have changed, every day changes. And so I look at leaders today back to the Roman days because that's where I feel like we are. And so right now my 3 books would be Winston Churchill, documentary or book, Alexander the Great because you want to know how he conquered. And number 3 would be Marcus Aurelius because he was so deep into culture, but the diversity of getting people to be a community, even though he didn't have the Senate to back him up. So those 3 people, they led without being led. And so as our time is, we're constantly looking for leaders. And so that's where I'm at with the 3 big influences right now.
I bet you already know this from being a trainer. Like when you lead your clients, you're really supporting them and coaching them, right? That's how you lead them. You don't lead them by telling them what to do or what to eat, because everybody can tell them what to do and what to eat. They can get on the internet and it can tell you what to do and what to eat. They need to be coached and encouraged. You know what I mean? And I think that is what, that's what allowed you to train this long, right?
Oh,
because you are a leader for those like people. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I've learned in life either going to be a follower or a leader, and I'm not good at following, because most people that follow a transcript or follow a dialogue or follow a policy or follow a procedure or follow another man or woman, which is fine, but I don't like doing that. I like thinking outside the box of how can we make this great for everybody versus rules, stipulations that have already been placed on everybody. I always believe there's something that can be done better and easier and more fun too, but also articulate as I feel like every day we change mentally. And so it's really articulating to the masses on how we can be better humans for each other, but also love one another. And so when it comes to being a trainer, you're trying to basically convert all those different type of mythologies into something where you can help lead a client, because they're there not only to get healthy, but they're there to have somebody listen to them. Your open ear.
They're there to change.
Correct.
And sometimes change requires you as a trainer or a leader being a good listener, right? To create change.
That's number one.
I mean, it's a big part of it for sure. Yeah. Especially if you've been training as long as me and you have.
Oh yeah.
Right. You realize that about your clients. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So I just want to piggyback on something you said. So you can be a follower, or you can be a leader.
Correct.
Okay. And if you choose to be a follower, that's totally fine.
Correct.
But if you recognize that you were a leader, you have a responsibility to try to be a good leader, because that is who you are as a person. You're not a follower. And so you have a big responsibility to people that follow to try to be a good example and be a good leader if you recognize that you are a leader like you did. Correct. You know what I mean? Like, you have a responsibility to people to be good on that, you know?
Right.
Because imagine if we were all sort of leaders, then we would all just go around, just be supporting and being empathetic and going like, what do you need from me to be better? Because we'd all be doing the same. Could we all be trying to help each other by leading? Correct. Right?
Oh yeah. Would be in trouble.
Well, I think that, I don't know. Why do you think people choose to be followers, or why do you think there are followers? Because everybody can't be a leader? Is that the easiest answer?
No, I think it goes back to like meeting your little one today. It comes from being groomed as a child and kid. You know, like seeing your daughter, it's like your mind is so open between 3 and 5, so you're nourishing what your parents give to you. So if they're gonna be a certain way to you as a kid, that's why parenting to me is really important, because that's what's grooming you to be a leader or a follower. You're going to follow your dad or mom, or if you don't have either, you're going to be looking for a mentor or somebody supportive. And so once again, that's where the leader comes in, and volunteering, as well as these kids look for how to groom themselves. So I believe you become what you are when you're around people. So being young, and as we all age too, you become your as they say, a bird of the feather flocks together, in a sense where you are who you hang out with. And so I believe leaders hang out with leaders and followers hang out with followers. And so you can look at people that work at offices, well, they're all followers in a sense because they have management. Well, that management's a leader. And so same thing with a football team. There's all players, but there's a leader. It's the quarterback, because he has to lead the other 10, or it's the coach. And so in life, there always has to be that one that's different, the way they think, strategy-wise, structure-wise. But going back to your question, I really believe that goes by what you associate yourself around. And also, too, switching subjects in a sense, it's like Mike Tyson in a sense, where some people had to become a leader because they didn't know anything else. Either it was streets were going to take them, or like Cus took him in. You got to find that one person that's going to take you for who you are and groom you a certain way. If not, then you're going to be a follower, because there's no other way out. Mm-hmm. You just know to follow he or she, and you're good. But a leader is one that's constantly looking to the next level. And some people it's money, and for me it's knowledge. Knowledge is your power in a sense, because the more stronger vocabulary word it is, the more powerful you are as a person, in a good way, or you can make it a bad way. And so that's, as going back to like our profession, that's what's interesting is people listen to trainers. And I don't see myself as a trainer. I see myself as more of a executive coach at a different level, because most people don't realize that anybody could be healthy, but you got to teach and groom these clients in order to be the next better version of themselves for their kids, their mate, or their partner, or their parents, because you're instilling in them a different setting, principles, but also a different setting of who they were not. And that's why they come and see you, come see myself, is because they're looking for that leadership. Most people think watching people on Instagram, whatever, to lift weights, there's a science to lifting weights. There's an art to lifting weights. That's why I like Greek mythologies, because you look at what, like the statue of David and Michelangelo did to groom these things. There's an art in lifting weight. Nobody can just lift weights. And so when it comes to what we do, we take the art of a person's body, but also we also take the art of what's in a person's mind. And so it's us on how do we groom them.
We were talking before we started about training for how long that we've trained, right?
Right.
And that some people get out of it. Do you think that some people get out of training because they are put in a leadership role and they're not ready to lead, and so they go, well, I'm just going to go get another job? Because I've never thought of it that way, but I feel like that if I wouldn't have made the evolution from kind of who I was as a trainer when I began to becoming more of a leader, I think I probably would have quit. It probably would have beat me up. I probably would have quit. And I never thought of it that way before. But that might be a reason why a lot of people get out of this job. Because, on the surface, it's like, oh, I like to work out and I like to show other people how to work out and I know how to lift weights, so let's do it. But actually, someone's health is so much deeper than that. And you do this long enough, you start to realize those things, right?
Oh, yeah. You realize that, you are what you eat, of course. So I always tell clients, what you put in the body is what you look like. So if it looks good, healthy wise, you're gonna look good. But if it looks bad, you're gonna look bad. So you are what you eat. But also too, when it comes to verbiage, you talk bad, what do you expect to hang out with people that talk the same way as you? So it's your dialogue on what you eat, but also what you put in. And so when it comes to like lifting weights and talking to clients about coaching, it's what you give them is their output. And so you give them good information, but you give them a good insight, they're gonna have good insight. And so that's where you have once again the leadership skills, but also most trainers quit because they stop developing. And so they go to a certain level and they can't go any higher because they're not looking towards anybody else to help them mentor to the next step. And so that's why I feel like a lot of them become stagnant, or this isn't for me. Well, they got in it for the wrong reason.
Well, I think if you get into personal training to just get people in shape, in my personal opinion, your retention rate is going to be low because people are cyclical. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
In the sense of like, they got to go on vacation, so they're going to come work out for 6 months and then they're not, blah, blah, blah. And truly as a personal trainer, your main two things are to keep your client consistent and make sure they don't hurt themselves.
Correct.
Mentally or physically.
Correct.
And if you're like, that is you were talking, I was like, man, I didn't realize what being a dad is a big responsibility, but also being a trainer is a big responsibility, and the faith that people put into you in those two specific areas, you know what I mean? Because a monkey can show anybody how to lift weights.
Right.
Nope, sorry. But
No.
But like to really help somebody change their life is a lot more than that,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the monkey lifted weights, you'll look like a monkey lifted weights too, because the monkey just gets on in and out. But if you look at the gorilla and silverback, watch them how they lift. They're very what's the word? They're so strong and so intense, is because it's interesting that how much physical activity they have to gain their size, and they're vegetarians too, which a lot of people look at people's bodies and realize, like, I need protein. Well, look at the silverback. Boy, 7 to 10 times the strength of a normal person. He eats grass and leaves all day. Mm-hmm. So I feel that's pretty fascinating. And going back to like the trainer, it's, you see a client maybe 1 or 2 hours a week, or maybe 3 hours a week, but in a 150-hour work week, and that's not very long. So
it's not very long at all.
2 hours out of 150 hours, that's not long at all. So when they're with you for 1 or 2 hours a week, you better be very impactful. You better make a difference.
Well, everybody has stuff in their life.
Right.
But, these people are paying you really good money, and for you to just like mail it in is not, in my opinion, acceptable.
Right.
Like my job relative to other jobs I could have, example, being a police officer, being a firefighter, and risking my life daily because I don't do that, and getting paid probably way more than they get paid. Like you better not mail it in.
Right.
You better bring it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's really what they're paying you for. They're paying you consistency, don't get hurt, and don't mail it in. That's my 3 things, because like, if you're in this for the long term, that's what you're signing up for, right?
Yeah, you're right, Scotty.
Yeah.
You are. So, like with your clients, is that something that those are your biggest top 3?
Well, as I transition from like my training clients into like my life coaching stuff, I've realized that that physical and mental and metaphysical are all connected, and they all need each other to work, right? So if you're not taking care of your physical health, it affects your mental health, and then it affects your purpose of being or why you think you're here, right? And you could go through the cycle, right? And so, yeah, if I keep my clients consistent, if they don't get hurt, right, and they have some sort of stress relief, whether it be physical or mental, that hopefully puts them in a better headspace to go on a hike or to go to China and like walk the Great Wall, or to go live life and maybe be, because you can tell me, in my history of doing personal training, a lot of people don't work out without me. They only work out with me.
Yep.
So
very true.
So what I could do 2 things. I could just beat the shit out of them until the next 2 days they can't do anything, and they just sit around being sore. Or I could give their body what their body needs to go out and perform riding a bike or whatever, so maybe they're more active. And that has become my kind of philosophy. But, a lot of people wouldn't like that because it's really not, it's not going to be strong in the weight loss area as far as calories burned, because it's more, you're getting to more like rehab functional and what people kind of need. And most people come to a trainer for vanity reasons, not their total health.
Right.
And your body fat is mainly, what is the abs are made in the kitchen? Is that how that old saying goes? What you eat has a way bigger effect on anything any trainer's doing with you 2 hours a week.
Right.
That guy could beat you until you were just like, I just can't do anymore.
Yeah.
And it's still not even going to benefit you if your diet's poor. If you have a poor diet, Right.
And that goes back to your you as a trainer. So understanding where the client is, so you could beat them to a pulp working out and all the above. But if their stress levels are so bad, whatever they eat in the kitchen, if it's good or bad, their cortisol levels so heavy that they're producing the muffin top. They're getting that nice ring around the belly because their estrogen is so high. So going back to, like you said, it's like, if you don't understand after beat them to death, but if you're not having time to talk to them, you don't know what's going on with them.
Well, you just brought up something that I just never even thought of before, man. Like that's why I love kind of having conversations, is that like if your clients have like a 9-to-5 type job in tech world or whatever, and they're stressed, they're already stressed. Okay. Can we agree that physical stress is also stress?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And if there is no stress relief, what is one of the things that people do to alleviate stress? They stress eat.
Yep. Eat or drink.
So not only are you setting your clients up for failure, like stress, eating, drinking, but you're also raising their cortisol levels. You're doing all this other stuff too. So as a trainer, you have to recognize okay, I only probably started doing this the last like 7 years that I trained, like fully trained, right? Was whenever my client go in and go, how are you doing today? How are you feeling today? What's going on today? In that warm up period of meeting them in the first 5 minutes, and try to see what's going on inside their head, and go, oh, they're in a good headspace. We can do some work today.
Right.
Or it's like, man, this client is on the verge of crying. We better do some foam rolling.
Yep.
And recognize that as a trainer, as their coach. Like, what do they need to be successful?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's when I first see meeting someone, they can, it's basically reading a book. If a person is 21 years old, 30 years old, 50, 69 years old, is that when I first meet them, first thing I ask is like, you're a book. And they're always saying, what do you mean I'm a book? That's like, you're going to tell me everything about you, but you want me to fix you in one session. It ain't going to happen. Well, what do you mean? I was like, well, when you build a house, you have a blueprint. I said, I don't know how you're built. And I said, I don't know where the cracks are. And those cracks could be food, it could be alcohol, or it could be stress. And so when you see the client the first time, those first 5-10 minutes, they just want to go and, let's go work out. Show me what you got. To me, it's like, yeah, we're not going to weigh that competition. We're going to see what's going on the inside, So for you, Scottie's like, good to meet you, Scottie. And, Scottie, tell me a little bit about you. So my biggest thing is trying to get in their head the first 10 minutes. So I call it the short story. You're trying to summarize them in that first paragraph so you know where to go. Because a lot of them, they want to get beat down. But if they're already getting beat down at work, man, you're just you're digging that hole deeper for them because stress level's already high.
In those scenarios, do you get a lot of people that it's hard to get buy-in? That like they fight you for the buy-in of your knowledge and what's best for them?
No, because I told them too, I'm pretty straightforward when I first.
But I think that's important. I think that's an important thing. The reason you do have buy-in and you don't have to worry about that is because you're straightforward.
Oh yeah, and I told them when you're ready, let me know. But until then,
yeah,
don't push something on yourself if you're not ready for commitment. And it's not commitment to me; it's commitment to yourself.
I think in those moments where a professional says you're not ready to work with me, wouldn't you just be like, well, what the fuck do I need to do to work with you? I would be like, what do you mean? And some people don't even take it as a challenge. They just go, okay, well, I'll go find somebody else that just beat me into the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've had a handful of clients that they train with me for probably 2 weeks and then wanted their money back or quit. And just after 2 weeks with sessions left and stuff like that, because I think they thought it was going to be one thing. And maybe I wasn't clear. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. You know what I mean? Or maybe they just didn't even listen to me,
Oh, yeah, no, it happens. I guess I always tell the person when I first meet them, it's like, I'm putting myself in your shoes. So I'm not going to be a cookie cutter or ice the cake thick with you. I want to know straight out. So if I'm going to buy the Bentley or McLaren, I want to know all the bells and whistles before I buy that car. I want to know how it drives. I want to test drive it. So same thing with me. It's like, I want to know what I'm getting into. And I said, just meeting you today, Scottie. I want to know what's Scottie about. And they're gonna like, well, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, you're in here for a reason. So what brought you in here, Scottie? It could be athletic performance, it could be to lose weight, or it could be my stress levels out of 10. And so when you get into a client's conversation, they don't like being questioned out because now you question of why they're here. And so I get a lot of people that, well, I've done this, this, and this, and this. But at the end of the day, I'm like, then why are you here? And so working for a corporate, that during their conversation, well, I know how to do that. I can lift this. I'm like, why are you in here seeing me then? Well, I'm like, no, I don't. And so when you open the book to open that dialogue, they have to explain their faults. And when they start explaining their faults, because they've already tried, I won't name different systems, they failed. And so now you're their last hope. And so you really got them in a sense where you can take them to the next level.
But what's so weird about that is people fight that.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Like
ego nowadays, ego.
Yeah. And what one of my friends calls used to bees.
Oh, yeah.
And he always had this saying, he said, used to bees don't make honey no more. That's, you know what I mean? But like a lot of people, they'll come in and tell you that they have always done this and they're doing this. And then to your point, you go, well, why are you, if everything's working for you, why are you here? You're here with me because it's not working. Let's be honest about it.
Yep.
That's why you're in front of me. It's because it's not working. So why don't you let me do my job?
Yep.
Let me help you. That's what I'm here to do, is I'm here to help you. But it's hard to hand over those keys, you know what I mean? And just trust somebody.
Especially when they're alpha male or alpha female. And so when they're leader of these companies, they're used to being the leader. So that's once again, when you ask me like, who do I like reading you do both documentaries and audiobooks, because as us, we get, especially here in Austin, you got a lot of alpha leaders. And these guys or females, they'll come and see you for a reason. It's because they don't have time to think no more. So it's up to you, Scottie, to think for me.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, that's a lot of pressure. Oh
yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
How am I going to get Tim in shape? Oh man. It's like, he's not like any other client. He's this and bigger. And man, I was like, man, what? So what do you do? So you go home and start researching more about this person's limitations or what he does professionally, so you can get in their mindset and their shoes. But also, I always say you want to get into that person's body, soul. Why haven't they not accomplished their goals?
I think in order to be an effective trainer, you have to give the client what they need, and you have to give them some things of what they want. You know what I mean? I personally am not a big fan of burpees, personally.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Okay.
I'll watch you.
But if you want to do burpees, as long as we can do some of the things that I think you need that will structurally make you good and, you know, and make you want to go, yeah, we can throw burpees in there. I don't care. It's not going to matter.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to matter that much.
Yep.
So, you know, it's like what matters most is that I get these things that you need. The wants, as long as we can work them in, yeah, like it's totally great. You know what I mean? But I think that, you know, people, they I don't know. I guess it's our natural tendency. Is it always been this way, or is it now our natural tendency to not trust?
I think we're going different time and age again, so we're getting into that can't trust, because there's so many different levels of from a hierarchy to community level. There's so much distrust now. Now people are that's big. Nobody trusts. Trust is, it's almost a pastime now.
You know, like I try really hard to give everyone the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. And I can be just as bigoted as anybody else. But also, if someone breaks my trust, or if the trust is broken with me and a stranger, I mean, I'm not really worried about, but say someone I'm closer to, an acquaintance, or blah, blah, whatever, as long as it's not like super egregious and stuff like that, like, I mean, like, I'm not going to just start treating them like shit. And I think a lot of times that, you know, someone gets their trust broken, like one time, you know, something little thing happens.
So what you roll
and
on
then the approach to that person totally changes. And like, I mean, fucking A, cut some people some slack, man. Like, not everything's all easy for everybody all the time. All the things you find easy that you're like, why are these people not getting this? Well, they're not you. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there are things that they do that you can't do. I mean, have a little bit more space and empathy, you know?
Oh, yeah. And that's where a lot of people don't let their, I'm a little hesitant on this conversation, on this, my next word is because one, people, the boundaries have already been crossed. And that's where, as society, we don't have boundaries no more. And so boundaries to me is the trust. And so if a person doesn't have boundaries, there's no trust. And so if you don't build rapport with your client, they're going to trust you, or a family member, or a friend. And so as trainers, that's the rapport goes to boundaries. And so that's when it really becomes either the more slack you are with them, the more lazy and everything falls down, the wall starts to crumble. And so as our profession, trust is one of those things where you have to show up every day to make sure that person goes to the next level. So they put a lot of trust in you, but also too, like you were just saying, it's like, at what point do you stop trusting? And my rule is, you got 3 strikes. And I'll tell the person, you're on strike 2. And I don't mess around. From a client to, and it's never happened. It's only happens in relationships. So 3 strikes, and I tell them I'm done, and they know me. They call me cutthroat. And I'm like, well, you're the one who slit your own wrist.
Right.
I didn't do it.
Right.
You lied. Or
Right.
you did that behind my back. I said once, twice, and I called them out. Strike 1, strike 2. I was like, after 3, we're done. And usually stops on number 2. Client-wise, and it could be the accountability is bad, or to me, even to the food is bad. And then when it comes to like a relationship, 3 strikes, you're out, because to me, trust is one of the biggest rapport a person can have among each other. Once that trust ain't there,
I mean, it is a thing, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it is it,
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't help but think that, you were talking about that you're like straight up with your clients from the very beginning, but in a sense, you set boundaries with your clients that's what you're setting boundaries with your clients from the very beginning. And because you set those boundaries, whereas they might not act or really want to respect you in the beginning, they almost have no choice to. And then that's when you can help them the most.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so also too, it's when you give them, it's not, I don't like the word ultimatums, but when you give them sound advice, it's up to them how they want to use it. So to me, it's you're helping them sharpen the sword. And I like the analogy is, I'll help you. The way I throw words at a person's like, I like shining my bullets. And so if I'm going into a fight / consultation / I'm shining my bullets before I enter. And so when I know he or she's coming in a positive way, I kind of know where I stand and how he or she is already, in a sense. And like to say, you can judge a book by cover. It's so untrue. Yeah, the book has a nice cover, but you really don't know what's inside until you start talking to he or she. And so I like polishing my bullets, because the bullets is when you really start throwing and shooting different things at them to get the feel where they're at and see what boundaries they have, or if they don't have any boundaries, you want to try to help build boundaries for them.
Right.
And that's what our job for is. It's it might sound condescending, like I'm sounding mean and tough. It's not mean and tough. It's you want direction, you want solid direction. And nowadays there's so many influencers on YouTube and Instagram. They're all in their 20s. What experience are you going to show me?
Right.
I'm 47. I got 28 years of fitness history, and you're all here showing this on Instagram or YouTube. You don't have no education. I got degrees, certifications, I got license, I got all that. And so when it comes to what I bring to the table, and when I meet a client, I don't tell them everything I have, but if they ask, I do. They're like, wow, that's a lot, this and this. And I'm like, yep, you did that? Yeah, oh yeah. Like, I don't like showing my badges and my stripes on my coat, because it's not about Tim, it's about them.
Well, but sometimes people, they want to make sure you're legit.
Oh yeah.
So it gives you that legitimacy.
Oh, it does.
In this weird way. It's not legitimate enough that you have 28 years experience in this job, and that has probably taught you more than you ever learned in any certification.
Oh yeah.
Right?
True.
But people want to see certifications.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's good. Because if you're getting a young trainer that hasn't been training for 28 years, you at least want him to not kill you.
Exactly.
Right? Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. When I manage trainers, I'm like, you're going to do what to me? Because I always do the role play. I'm like,
sure.
You don't know me. I'm not your boss. I'm not the manager over the week. Just pretend like Tim's normal. Well, you're already in shape. I'm like, no, pretend like.
Well, what if I was already in shape? Then what would you do?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, look at your client, evaluate your client. Like, everyone has the ability to be coached, and every trainer can get their ass kicked by another trainer.
Oh yeah.
It's not, being a trainer doesn't give you the superpower, like can't get your ass kicked. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, it's the idea of what a trainer does, of like you said, like just being a coach. You are a coach. You are a coach. You are a coach and supporter for your client to get your best interest is for them, period.
Right. Yeah. And going along with that, Scottie, is like, I tell my clients too, and I'm being pretty straightforward with you all this too. I'm like, when you work better and think smarter without working harder, you're making yourself more money. How's that for you, Scottie? And they're like, well, I didn't think about that, Tim. Well, why not? It's like, well, you're just to work me out. I'm like, no, I'm not. So I'm here to make you a whole new person. And I want you physically stronger, but mentally stronger. I want you to be able to conquer the day even harder, but I want you to sit back and go, man, this exercising and me having this dialogue with you while I work out, it's really advanced my level of being a person. And so by just working with clients, when you let them know that you're going to take them to that next level where they won't miss, they don't have to take high blood pressure pills, cholesterol pills, or the next new,
Ozempic.
Yeah, Ozempic. I got clients that now they want to take that, and I'm like,
no.
Why do you want to do that?
No.
Yeah. Why?
No. You don't know what it's going to do to your body.
Oh yeah. Mayo Clinic says don't do it.
You know what we do know does to your body is like alcohol and shitty food. And so, like, instead of taking Ozempic, just don't eat that shit.
Yep.
How about that?
Oh yeah.
This isn't. Sometimes I'm sorry I hijacked this whole thing.
No.
Like
It's
it's
a big
just
topic now.
It's so hard. Am I being insensitive to say that? Like, I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand how you lose weight. Is that insensitive to say that?
No.
But I mean, it's a simple principle.
Yeah,
But then on top of that, it's like, well, my most successful clients don't drink booze. Same. Yeah.
Yep.
For the whole career, my most successful clients do not drink alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That's already one. That's already one proven fact that I got. Right. And then you go, my most successful clients are the ones that know what they eat. Right now, they know what they're putting into their body. And then the next level is like they know how they sleep and they know how they exercise and how they treat their day and all that kind of stuff. But at the very base, it's energy in versus energy out.
Well, you said it too, Scotty. It's like going backwards on your topic. You're making me laugh. I always say you drink the Kool-Aid, and everybody's like, I don't get it, Tim. So, well, what happens when you drink purple Kool-Aid? You have a purple tongue. You drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Or if you drink tropical punch, well, you have red lips. Looks like you have a lipstick. You drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Well, what does that mean? Well, how long is it on your mouth and tongue? Oh, that's a good point. That's that's the point is you do it with everybody else. It's going to stain you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guess what? It's going to come back and get you too.
Yeah.
Especially going back to that, with my dyslexia, I was telling you, what was the shot? It's a diabetic shot, the Olympic.
Ozempic.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
So Mayo Clinic, had to do more research. I was talking about clients looking to do this past week. Mayo's clinic, Berkeley clinics, Hopkins, and Bethlehem. Of course, Israel is the state of the art when it comes to researching medical pharmaceutical. And it's interesting that it's on stage 2 right now, phase 2, stage 2. I call them the same. There's 5 levels for a shot to be approved by the FDA. It's only on stage 2, and all these movie stars and clients are asking me about it. I'm like, in my head, I want to say, are you that lazy that you can't stop eating? Or what's happening now is people don't want to work because their time is too important. They don't want to go to a gym because they're too busy on their phone or the next big social engagement because now the pandemic's over. And so now it's an easy shot. I'll look at them like skinny fat don't look good. I saw one earlier. So now your bone density is less. Your muscle mass is less too. And guess what? If you slip and fall, since your bone density is less and your muscle mass is less, that's where people crack bones or break a bone. But it's interesting that phase 2, you're going to put that in your body. But are we at that society now where are we too lazy now? That's the other topic. Are we that lazy now that it's interesting they developed this in 2017, 2019 is when this first started testing this. And what's interesting about it is how they now start testing it while we're going through a lockup phase. Now it's the biggest drug in the world and they can't keep it off the shelves. And there's a demand. And so what happens with that demand? Well, they don't have enough. So now the price is $1,000 a month, 1 injection a week. And here's the kicker: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. And I told a client this. I'm like, you got to take a pill for that every day now. And these people are having heart palpitations off this diabetic drug because you're not overweight. You're 20 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
Now you're taking the shot that a person that's type 2 diabetes that's 100 pounds overweight, it's going to mess up your hormones.
I don't understand why anybody would want to be attached to medicine permanently. Like high blood pressure medication, cholesterol medications. Some of this stuff is necessary. A lot of it could be unnecessary. But like, I just wouldn't want, like, I always think if there's a zombie apocalypse, I don't want to have to like break into pharmacies to get my medication to stay alive. Yeah. Like I want to be able to survive. I got to fight zombies. Like, do I want more obstacles? You know what I mean? But like, I don't want to be on medications in case like something becomes unavailable for some reason, you know?
No, you're right. And so that's the topic I always have is in training here in Austin since 2001. And a lot of my clients have been around 15, 18 plus years with me. And we've always, this day one, it's survival of the fittest. And so your body is how you're to live life. If you're fit mentally and physically, you're going to outlive everybody. Why? Because your body is a well-tuned machine. And so I don't believe in pharmaceuticals. I believe we were put on the planet on Earth without pharmaceuticals. So why now?
Well, because people don't want people to die. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we want to keep them alive. So we do things to keep people alive that we love. But if we were, if this was the old West and natural selection, it would have taken a shit ton of us out by
gosh.
now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that there are good things about that. Like I want, I have a friend that has high blood pressure. I'm glad there's high blood pressure medication. I really wish that maybe that person would do more about his health to get off of it. But I'm glad he's here, and it's an unfortunate kind of side effect,
Oh, well, it's like Scottie, like live in a small town. Everybody's on medicine, because that's the only thing they're good around. And so when you see your family, the familia, everybody's taking diabetic, insulin, high blood pressure pills, cholesterol pills. It all comes down to exercise.
And those tortillas and beans.
Oh my gosh, I like the frijoles. I like my carne asada. Can't help it, I'm part Spanish, so it's natural instinct. I don't look pat when I walk next to taquito. I'm stopping for taquito, and people are like, you eat that? I'm like, yeah, why would I not? They're like, that's bad for you. I'm like, I don't see, where does it say it's bad for you on here? And that's why I laugh. It's like, or pizza. I'm like, what? It's like, well, you don't eat that. I'm like, why would I not eat that? It's because once again, being a trainer, they think our level of eating is above everybody too.
Still humans.
Yeah, and so that's why they hold us to a certain level as well. But that's the interesting part is, when you first meet people, it's like you want to let them know that we're on the same playing field.
Mm-hmm.
I do make mistakes, and I do love the delicacies in life, and I like my tacos, and I do like pizza, and I do like having a good beer or whiskey or tequila.
I think that's important.
Oh yeah. Because life's too short, but yet that's another thing about working out and being physically active is I mostly eat not it's not the vanity, it's more of I like food.
Hell yeah.
And that's one reason I work out every day, 30, 40 minutes, hour if I'm lucky, but what we put in our body once again is what we are. So it's like anything, if you're eating more than what your body can burn, then of course you're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
This last segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose by incorporating learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one that you truly enjoy living. Want to know more? Go to www.heyjustbe.com.
So it's great that we were talking about like pizza and all this good shit, because usually how I like to wrap this up is basically like, how do you take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else? So obviously you exercise, and obviously you indulge in this stuff, but like, what else do you do? Are you a meditation person, or do you do any kind of mindfulness? Do you do yoga, or do you just like pump it out on weights? Like, what do you like to do so that you can be the best version of Tim?
Oh, I like listening to audiobooks when I work out. So
hey, no. I'm totally in on that. Like, so why do you like listening to audiobooks while you work out?
Because I get epiphanies on something that I'm interested in. So if it's something that's a main topic, it'll punch a button in my head that triggers like, oh, I didn't think about that. So when it does that, then it helps me without studying more about a certain topic.
What kind of audiobooks do you listen to when you work out? Like what do you, or what have you listened to? Do you listen to like leadership books, like, or do you listen, is it like stories or what?
It's a little bit of everything. Once again, it goes with the times we're living in a sense. So for me, it's about leaderships. What makes a leader stand out among the rest? And we live in a day and time where everybody's being on social media and being an influencer. I'm not about that. I'm believing what makes you different. So it's finding that not only purpose, but finding that mindset of what can you do that you're already good at that takes you to one more level. And so it could be as you're doing a podcast, or it could be writing a book. And so for me, I'm working on 2 books right now. And so it's laying down the introduction, but also it's laying down the topics in my head. So that's where the audiobooks come in on bridging that gap.
Well, yeah, you're taking what you learn and applying it to do something. Like I always feel like that everybody has like a superpower, but you have to find it. right? And your superpower might be being a leader. Your superpower might be being an entertainer.
Mine's being dyslexic. And so dyslexic is my power. And I learned how to grasp that because for most people, it's their weakness.
Right. So how did you turn that into a strength for you?
For me, it's I couldn't graduate with my fellow peers multiple times because I didn't know I had dyslexia. And so for me, it's the test is what got me. I took college algebra 7 times. And so eventually I had a person tell me, you have a learning disability. And I'm like, I don't have a learning disability. But once I got it tested and got kicked out of college a couple of times due to my dyslexia and have the letters to amp me up even more, saying due to your severe dyslexia and your learning disability, we're taking your financial aid away and you're taken out of school for the next semester. So I got to sit on the sidelines for a whole semester and think what's wrong with me, but it's not what's wrong with me, it's our school system. And so if you write things backwards, sideways, however you want to interpret it, they're going to kick you out of school. And so for me, I learned how to cope with dyslexia myself by reading books, but also my interpretation of reading books is through audio. I'm a visual and audio learner. So I had to become stronger at my weakness. And so weakness for a lot of people is their learning disability. So dyslexia could be your power, it could be what cracks the rock in a sense. It could be your basically it could sink the Titanic because it's so hard for a lot of people that have a learning disability. It's getting that help, that mentoring, like we said, being a leader, or finding a way for you to cope with it, but also take it to the next level.
How awesome are audiobooks?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Like, especially for someone that it's hard to read, right?
Oh, you can rewind a topic 10 times. And so it's like rereading or write down clip notes 10 times. You just hit rewind is like, I call it like a tattoo. You're getting stamped in your brain. That's why I like audiobooks. And I get so amped because the more you listen to it, the more it's tattooed in your file in your head.
Yeah.
And so that file, I can pass it on to you. You can pass it on to me. And so that's why audiobooks are so powerful. You're putting a tattoo in the brain, but a file cabinet. It's the more you listen to something that's positive, more that dialogue is to become more useful as a resource.
Okay. You ever see the movie Book of Eli with Denzel?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then how he's blind. Like, one, I didn't realize he was blind till like the third time I saw that movie, which is really.
You forgot. Yeah.
No, I didn't forget. I don't know why. I was just like, oh, he knows Braille. Like, I didn't even think that he was blind. I don't know why that didn't cross my mind that he was blind. But like, by
he's
the time.
kicking everybody's butt. That's why.
No, I mean, but like, that's what's so crazy is I saw the movie multiple times and did not know he was blind. And then one time I was like, I think that guy's blind. You know what I mean? That's like, anyways, but the fact that he memorizes the Bible to repeat to them word for word and pass that file on.
That's
you know
scary.
what I mean? Yeah. So like that's like really cool. Like I always think for me, reading's always been difficult. I don't know if I have dyslexia, but I can tell you this: if I had audiobooks in high school and college, I don't know. I think I could have done just about anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the classes I take now are usually like video classes, online classes, things like that, or it's like audio stuff. And man, I love to learn now. And I hated learning when I was in school, you know, but I mean, I grew up in a town of 5,000 people. Nobody has dyslexia there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, learning my dad's side of the family's like 8 guys of males, uncles, they're all dyslexic. I'm like, what do you mean? You're number 7. I'm like, what? All of them build houses. They don't know any English because they couldn't interpret books, literature. So they had to quit. They quit school 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
And built houses because it's too hard for them. And so that side runs in my family. So I'm like, oh man. So for me, I'm the only one that's ever graduated college just because of that reason. So I felt like for me, it was a milestone I had to do because I got kicked out, like I said, 4 different times. Even my Harvard psychologist, she was Dr. Sakara. She even, after working with me 3 years, she goes, man, it's too hard to watch you suffer. That the professors don't care. They look at your built and look at your looks, and you should go to Hollywood to be an actor. And my favorite thing to them was, don't I have to read a script and remember that? Boy, you're talking about the dean getting mad at me, not happy at all. And so even having the school against you and having somebody from Harvard tell you to quit school, it just gave you more of more of a fire to push through, because you didn't have no money on your side now. So it made my dyslexia even more powerful, because I'm like, everybody sees it as a disadvantage and nobody can conquer it. I'm like, I'm going to conquer it. So
well, you're the only one that can, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, the only one that cares.
Yep.
Enough to conquer it, right?
Oh yeah. And I still got, took me 16 years, but once I graduated, I sent a picture of me she went back to Harvard, and she's over the psychology department. And I wrote a letter thing for everything. She helped me. But then also I told her, I was like, don't ever rule somebody out if you don't know their mindset, and but nicely. And I sent her a picture. This is what happens when you don't believe in somebody that has a learning disability. So don't ever lose faith towards somebody that still has that drive. And so she sent me back a letter. She goes, Tim, you're the only one that I've counseled, worked with, that's ever proved me wrong. It's like, it's not proving you wrong in my head. It's like, don't ever doubt somebody that has that drive. And she goes, I'll never doubt another client, patient of mine again. She goes, you really...
Well, it was her own ego.
Oh yeah.
It was her own ego of like, I'm not helping, so then it's not helping. But really, you just wanted support. Hey, you wanted a coach, right? 3
years of using her, and she's like, this is hard for me to watch you go to school.
That's right. Yeah.
Without getting help. She goes, why don't you go to vocational school? I'm like, I've come too far. It's like I'm on the 5-yard line. I see the end zone. It's like I'm so close. Well, you took college algebra 6 times, 7 times. So when she left back, it took me a good 3 semesters. I was done, but I barely made it.
But you made it.
I made it, exactly.
That's right. That's awesome.
Got that piece of paper now.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Nobody could take that away. And I think, not jumping subjects, but that's where I'm big on telling people to get educated. That's one full thing about having a bachelor's degree is you have a paper that says that you're educated. And so you can have all the experience of the world, but that piece of paper shows that you went to school, you did your time, and you set your goals, you set boundaries, and you set yourself to a standard that now you have a piece of paper that shows that you did it. So when a client or a family member or friend sees your accomplishment, they know that you put the work in. And so I'm a big believer on getting educated. Papers say a lot. Discipline, time, you're driven, and nobody can take it away.
Yeah, getting a college degree, it is about the learning part, but it's about all those other things you talked about too that are very important. You know what I mean? Like the structure and all that stuff. Like it's one of those things that like, it's not a bad thing.
No.
No. It sounds ridiculous to say it that way, but it's not a bad thing.
No, especially nowadays, as long as you know how to work in a computer, as you know, living in Austin, it's interesting that most people, as long as you went to some kind of school and have a GED, but now have a high school diploma, as long as you're really good at computers, Apple will hire you, Dell will hire you. Before, if you didn't have a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? How much that changed.
Yep. And so now it's not looked at to something like it's a big accomplishment, but it really is.
Yeah.
Really is.
Well, man, did you enjoy this?
Oh, had a blast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I usually ask everybody to give me a hug and get over.
Of course.
Man, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Scottie.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.